I found out my fiancée was pregnant the same moment I realized I might not be the father. That's not something a man ever expects to think while sitting at his desk on an ordinary Tuesday morning, answering emails and pretending life is predictable. 1 second, I was worried about a budget spreadsheet. The next, my entire future cracked open from a single text message. Before I go any further, if you've ever lived long enough to know that trust can shatter in one instant, hit subscribe, tap like, and leave a comment telling me whether you think intuition is a gift or a curse. This story proves it can be both. Now, let me take you back. My phone buzzed just after 10 a.m. The name on the screen was Lauren, my fiancée. 2 weeks from our wedding day. Deposits paid, guest list finalized, my suit already hanging in the closet like a promise. I smiled before I even opened the message, expecting something harmless. Flowers, seating charts, one last detail to obsess over. Instead, the message read, "I'm pregnant." Time froze. The office noise faded into nothing. I reread the words, just to be sure my eyes weren't playing tricks on me. Pregnant. A word heavy enough to change a man's entire life in one breath. I felt proud, shocked, terrified, happy, all at once. I was going to be a father. At my age, that kind of news doesn't feel abstract. It feels final, powerful, sacred. I imagined a small bedroom painted soft blue or yellow. I imagined late nights, responsibility, meaning. Then I scrolled. I've been thinking, I want to put my ex's name on the birth certificate. It would be more meaningful. The warmth vanished instantly. I stared at the screen like it had insulted me personally, read it again, then again. I even locked my phone and unlocked it, as if the words might rearrange themselves out of embarrassment. They didn't. My pulse hammered in my ears, my hands went cold. More meaningful echoed in my head like a bad joke with no punchline. More meaningful than what? Than me? Than the man about to marry her? Than the supposed father? I didn't respond right away. I couldn't. 1,000 thoughts collided at once. She hadn't said the baby wasn't mine, but she hadn't said it was either, and mentioning her ex in the same message as a pregnancy announcement wasn't careless. It was deliberate. Her ex, Brian. A name she rarely mentioned but never completely erased. I remembered her pointing out a neighborhood months ago, casually saying he lived there now, married, settled. At the time, I hadn't cared. Why would I? Now, that memory felt sharp. I typed back something safe, neutral. Wow, that's big news. Congratulations. Cowardly? Maybe. But I needed clarity before confrontation. Accusations without facts are just explosions that can't be undone. I grabbed my jacket and left work without explanation, sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel, breathing like I'd just run uphill. Another text came, in from Lauren. "I'm so happy. We should celebrate tonight." Celebrate what, exactly? Instead of answering, I opened my map app and typed in an address I never thought I'd visit. Brian's house. I told myself I was being ridiculous, that there had to be an explanation, that no grown woman would suggest naming her unborn child after an ex without realizing how it sounded. But deep down, something old and instinctive was screaming that this wasn't nothing. The drive felt endless. Every traffic light gave my thoughts more time to spiral. I rehearsed excuses for her. Maybe she meant a middle name, maybe grief, maybe nerves, but none of it explained why him. When I finally pulled up to the house, a neat 2-story place with a trimmed lawn and 2 cars in the driveway, I just sat there. A man in his 50s, about to knock on a stranger's door because a single sentence had cracked his trust wide open. I told myself one thing before stepping out. If I was wrong, I'd apologize and walk away. But if I wasn't, I needed to know now, not after vows were spoken and lives permanently tangled. I walked up and knocked. The door opened, and the woman standing there was not Lauren. She was his wife, and the look on her face told me I'd just stepped into something far bigger than a misunderstanding. The woman who opened the door wasn't angry. She wasn't suspicious. She was confused in the purest sense of the word, the kind that comes from a life that hasn't yet been disrupted. She had light brown hair pulled back into a loose ponytail, casual clothes, and the relaxed posture of someone who believed her world was stable. Her eyes flicked from my face to the street behind me, as if trying to place why a stranger stood on her porch in the middle of a weekday. Yes? She asked. For half a second, I almost turned around, almost apologized and left. That half second passed. Sorry to bother you, I said, keeping my voice steady. Is Brian home? Her eyebrows knit together. He's at work. Can I ask who you are? I took a slow breath and did something I never imagined I'd do in my life. I pulled out my phone and held it out to her, the screen already lit up. Lauren's message, the one that had detonated my morning. I'm engaged to Lauren, I said quietly. She sent me this today. The woman, Melissa, I would later learn, took the phone hesitantly like it might burn her. Her eyes moved across the screen, line by line. I watched her face change in real time, confusion first, then shock, then something colder, sharper, like the air right before a storm breaks. She handed the phone back with trembling fingers. Why would she say that, she asked, more to herself than to me. That's exactly what I'm trying to understand. She stared at me for a long moment, studying my face as if searching for some sign this was a prank. Whatever she saw convinced her it wasn't. She stepped back and opened the door wider. You should come in, she said. This doesn't make any sense. The living room looked normal. Too normal. Family photos on the wall, a throw blanket folded neatly on the couch, a life carefully built and clearly valued. Melissa pulled out her phone and started dialing, her hand shaking now. Brian, she said when he answered, her voice tight. You need to come home, now. No, don't ask why, just come. She hung up and looked at me. He'll be here in 20 minutes. We sat in silence after that, the kind that presses against your ears. She kept glancing at my phone, like the message might change if she stared long enough. I kept my hands clasped together, forcing myself not to tap my foot. Outside, a car passed slowly, the driver curious about the stranger on the porch earlier. My phone buzzed. Lauren, calling. I declined it. Melissa noticed. She calling you? Yes. You're not answering? Not yet. She nodded like she understood more than she wanted to. Another 10 minutes crawled by. Then headlights swept across the front windows, too fast, too aggressive. A car pulled into the driveway hard, gravel crunching. The front door flew open. Brian walked in, tall, well-dressed, and pale the moment he saw me. His eyes darted from my face to Melissa's. What is this? He demanded. I stood and handed him my phone without a word. He read the message, once, twice. His mouth fell open slightly. What the hell is this? That's what I'd like to know, Melissa said, her voice sharp now. I haven't spoken to Lauren in years, Brian said quickly, too quickly, I swear. Then why is your name coming out of her mouth now? I asked. In connection with a pregnancy? His face flushed. I don't know. This is insane. Insane people deny. Innocent people question. Guilty people panic. Brian was panicking. Melissa crossed her arms. She's pregnant? I nodded. And she says your name would be more meaningful on the birth certificate. Brian ran a hand through his hair, pacing now. That means nothing. I didn't do anything. Then why do you look like you're about to pass out? She snapped. He stopped pacing and looked at her, then at me. Because some woman I haven't seen in years just blew up my life with a text. I studied him carefully, the tension in his jaw, the way his eyes avoided mine. I didn't accuse him. I didn't need to. The doubt had already landed where it mattered most. I'm going to talk to her, I said calmly. I wanted to hear your reaction first. Brian grabbed my arm. Wait, what exactly are you going to tell her? The truth, I replied, that I came here, that you denied everything, and that none of this makes sense. I pulled free and headed for the door. Behind me, voices rose, accusations, denials, a marriage starting to crack under the weight of someone else's secret. I got in my car and finally checked my phone. Missed calls, messages piling up, Lauren asking where I was, begging me to answer. I started the engine. It was time to hear her explanation. I drove straight to Lauren's apartment without answering a single message. The city blurred past my windshield, lights and signs melting together while my thoughts stayed locked on one thing: her face. I needed to see it when I asked the question, not read a carefully typed excuse, not hear a rehearsed explanation over the phone. Faces tell the truth long before mouths do. I parked and sat there longer than I meant to, engine off, hands resting uselessly on my knees. My phone buzzed again. Then again. I turned it face down. Whatever she had to say, she could say it to me. I knocked once. The door opened immediately, like she'd been standing there waiting. "Thank God," Lauren said, grabbing my arm. Her eyes were red, her voice tight. "Where have you been? I've been calling you nonstop." I gently pulled my arm free and walked past her into the living room. Same couch, same framed photos, same future we'd been building like it wasn't made of glass. I sat down and looked at her without speaking. Silence has weight if you let it. Finally I said, "Explain the text." She closed the door slowly and came to sit across from me, twisting her hands together. I know it sounded weird. "Weird," I repeated. "You told me you're pregnant and then immediately talked about putting your ex's name on the birth certificate. That's not weird, Lauren. That's alarming." "I wasn't thinking clearly," she said quickly. "I was emotional. Everything just hit me at once." "You used punctuation," I replied evenly. "That means you thought about it." She flinched. "You're being unfair." "No," I said. "I'm being confused and concerned." She swallowed. "I just meant maybe as a middle name, to honor important people from my past." I stared at her. "You want to honor your ex while marrying me? When you say it like that? That's exactly how it sounds." She stood up, pacing now. "You're twisting my words." "I'm repeating them," I said. "Why would his name even cross your mind?" She didn't answer right away. That pause was loud. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I opened it. "Tell your fiancé to stop dragging me into her mess. I'm married." Nothing happened. I showed her the screen. Her face went pale. "Why is he texting you?" "Because I went to his house," I said calmly. "You did what?" Her voice shot up. "Met his wife. Showed her your message." She knocked over her water glass when she stood, liquid spilling across the floor. "You had no right." "I had every right," I replied. "You gave me a reason to doubt everything." "What did he say?" she asked, her voice shaking. "He denied it. His wife cried. And now he's panicking." "That's because you ambushed him," she snapped. "Or because there's something to hide." She stared at me like I'd slapped her. "How can you think that about me?" "Because nothing about this makes sense," I said, standing now. "If the baby is mine, why mention him at all?" She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. "I made a mistake." "A mistake is a typo," I said quietly. "This was a choice." Her voice rose. "I'm pregnant and you're interrogating me like a criminal." I met her eyes. "Is the baby mine?" She froze. "What?" she asked. "It's a simple question." "Of course it is," she said too fast. "How dare you even ask that?" "Because of what you wrote," I said. "Because of how you're acting." She started crying, loudly now. "You're blowing this out of proportion." Another buzz. Same number. "She's been texting me all day, begging me not to tell you anything. Keep your situation under control." I showed her again. She lunged for my phone. I pulled it back. "You're ruining everything," she sobbed. "No," I said. "You did." "Then what do you want?" she cried. I took a breath. "A paternity test." She went completely still. "What?" "A medical test," I said. "If the baby's mine, we move forward. If it's not, we don't." "That's insane," she whispered. "This situation already is. I shouldn't have to prove anything." "In a normal situation, you wouldn't," I said. "But this isn't normal. You made it that way." I walked to the door. "Schedule the test," I said without turning back. "Send me the details." "Where are you going?" she asked. "Away," I replied. As I closed the door behind me, I could hear her crying, but I didn't stop. Whatever was coming next, it couldn't be avoided anymore. I stayed at my parents' house that night, lying awake in the guest room, staring at a ceiling I'd looked at 100 times before, but never like this. Every tick of the clock sounded louder than the last. I kept replaying Lauren's face in my mind, the shock, the anger, the fear. People can fake tears, they can fake outrage. What they can't fake is instinct, and everything about her reaction felt wrong. By morning, my phone was a graveyard of missed calls and messages. Lauren, her parents, her sister, even a couple of numbers I didn't recognize. I silenced notifications and made coffee, needing something normal to hold on to. Late that afternoon, a message finally came through that mattered. Test scheduled, Tuesday, 10 a.m., Harbor Medical Center. No apology, no explanation. Just logistics. I replied with 2 words. I'll be there. The days between felt endless. Work became background noise. Friends tried to distract me, but every conversation circled back to the same question in their eyes. My parents tried not to hover, but my mother checked on me constantly, bringing food I barely touched. Midweek, my phone rang again. Unknown number. "This is Melissa," the voice said. "Brian's wife." I sat down immediately. "Okay." "I needed to hear it again," she said. "Did Lauren really send that message?" "Yes." There was a long pause. "Brian swears nothing happened, but he's changed. He won't let me see his phone anymore. Takes it everywhere." That landed hard. "That's new," I said. "Very," she replied. "Before this, we shared everything. Neither of us said what we were thinking. We didn't have to." "Is she taking the test?" Melissa asked. "Tuesday. When you get the results," she said quietly. "Will you tell me?" "Yes," I answered. "You deserve to know." She thanked me and hung up. I stared at my phone for a long time after that. People don't suddenly guard their secrets unless they're afraid of what might be found. The pressure ramped up fast after that. Lauren's mother called, furious, accused me of cruelty, of paranoia, of humiliating their family. I listened until she ran out of steam and said one thing before hanging up. "If there's nothing to hide, the test will prove it." Lauren's sister showed up unannounced 2 days later, eyes blazing, told me I was destroying her, that Lauren hadn't eaten, that stress wasn't good for pregnancy. I looked her straight in the eye. "If your fiancé sent you that text, would you ignore it?" She didn't answer. Saturday night, Lauren texted again. "Can we talk? I miss you." I stared at the screen for a long time, then typed back, "After the test." Her response came immediately. "You don't trust me at all, do you?" I didn't reply. Sunday dragged. Monday was worse. By Tuesday morning, I was awake before dawn, fully dressed, nowhere to be yet. At 9:30, I drove to the medical center and parked far from the entrance, watching people come and go like this was any other day. Lauren arrived just before 10. She looked exhausted. We didn't speak. We checked in separately and sat on opposite sides of the waiting room like strangers. The nurse called us back together, explained the process calmly. Blood samples, results in several days. I asked for copies to be sent to both of us. Lauren nodded without looking at me. The procedure was quick, clinical, impersonal, the kind of moment that decides everything without caring how you feel about it. Outside, Lauren finally spoke. "You really think I betrayed you?" I met her eyes. "I think you gave me every reason to wonder." She wrapped her arms around herself. "When the results come back, you're going to feel terrible." "Maybe," I said, "or maybe I'll feel relieved." I got into my car and drove away, leaving her standing there. My phone buzzed almost immediately. I ignored it. Now all there was to do was wait. The call came on a Friday afternoon, right when the house was quiet and my thoughts were loudest. Unknown number. I stared at it for a full 3 rings before answering. "This is Harbor Medical Center," the woman said professionally. "We're calling regarding the paternity test results for Lauren and yourself." My chest tightened. "Yes, I'm here. The results are finalized. We can email them to both parties immediately." "Please do," I said. The call ended. I sat down on the edge of the couch, phone in my hand, waiting. 10 seconds felt like 10 minutes, then the email arrived. I opened it slowly, scrolling past the medical language, the charts, the explanations that meant nothing to me. Then I saw the line that mattered. Probability of paternity, 0%. Excluded, not the father. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel sadness. I felt clarity. Pure, sharp clarity. The kind that cuts through confusion like a blade. My phone rang instantly. "Lauren," I answered. "Did you get it?" she whispered. "Yes." Silence, then sobbing. "I'm sorry," she said. "It was one time. I was drunk. I ran into Brian and everything just happened." "When?" I asked. "A month ago. A month ago, while we were planning our wedding, while I was trusting her with my future." "Does he know?" I asked. I told him it might be his. He's been panicking. "And you were going to marry me anyway," I said. "Let me believe the baby was mine." I hoped it was, she cried. You knew it might not be. She didn't deny it. We're done, I said calmly. Please, she begged. We can fix this. There's nothing to fix, I replied. You made your choice. I hung up, blocked her number, and forwarded the results to Melissa with one sentence. You were right. Her reply came seconds later. Thank you for telling me. That evening I told my parents everything. No dramatics, just facts. My mother cried. My father nodded and said, You dodged something terrible. The next day I went back to Lauren's apartment one final time, told her she would reimburse every dollar I'd spent on the wedding, venues, vendors, everything, she argued. I didn't. I left my key on the counter and walked out. I called a family meeting that afternoon, both families present. I handed out copies of the results, watched the color drain from faces. Lauren admitted the truth. No excuses left. Her parents were humiliated. Mine were silent but steady behind me. I walked away from that table lighter than I'd been in months. Life moved fast after that. Lauren disappeared from my world. Brian's marriage didn't survive. Payments came in slowly, then finally in full. I rebuilt, gym, work, friends, peace. Months later, I ran into Lauren once by accident. She was visibly pregnant, eyes tired, life heavy. She looked like she wanted to speak. I kept walking. Some conversations are finished forever. I'm not bitter. I'm grateful. Grateful for the warning I almost ignored. Grateful I listened. Grateful I chose truth over comfort. If this story reminded you that instincts matter, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment with your thoughts. Trust saved me. Ignoring it would have cost me everything.